Turn it up.
Well, turn it up too. Now, this is going to be fun. We've got the great Todd Carney. Toddy, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having
So
me.
we're talking off Goulburn boy. You went to Canberra at 16 and pretty much you went straight into training with the big boys, with the first grade boys. How was that?
Yeah, it was a dream come true for me. When I first got asked by Matty to go full-time.
That's Matty Elliott.
Mum was a little bit hesitant. My old man, all he wanted to do was me to play footy, and he was like, "Yep, when do we start?" So I remember my first day turning up. We had a family connection with Jason Croker. So as soon as I got there, I turned up and sat down next to him, and then training started. And as you do when you're a young kid, I was just bright-eyed, wanting to do everything, and Ryan O'Hara and Luke DeVico, they just gave me a pizzling. I used to sit and wait for them to have showers. I was only a kid, so I didn't know about showering. So I'd wait around, and it was just like I said, it was a dream come true for someone that's all I ever wanted to do was play for the Raiders as a kid, and then to turn up and be around that environment and just to mix it with them. And I was one of those kids that I would do anything, and anytime we'll do any session, I just wanted to be a part of it and rip in, because that's all I ever wanted to do.
You think about those times, then you look at Sammy and Hal, they're dealing with mobile phones. Well, you sort of had a bit of a crossover.
Yeah.
Like, do you think they miss out on a lot of growing up, like the way sort of you and me and we all came through?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a massive part of it. It's just, like, for me, I got thrusted straight into it, so you don't sort of learn about things. For me, now working at Keebra Park in a school system, I wish if I could rewind it back. I wish I went through and done the Erindale College, year 11, 12, played school footy, Australian schoolboys, things like that, just to experience that, because now looking at school footy now and the development they get, plus time to grow up. But for me, like I said, I'd like to do it, but there was no way I would have changed that back then when I got that opportunity from Matty to come full time. I moved into Institute of Sport with a few other players, and my life was just complete because I was at the Raiders playing footy.
And what about, say you played first grade at a young age, one team, one town, local boy. How did you handle that period right at the start of your career?
Well, I struggled a little bit because when I was living in Canberra, I would always drive home to mum and dad's. I'd say that I was staying there. I remember I'd finish training, drive home, get up early and get back, and I wasn't even staying in my room because I just wanted to go home. I was a home person. I wanted to be around my family. Then when I started playing the spotlight, I remember I used to drive into Goulburn, hanging out with my mates, just being with them, because that was me. I loved footy. But because I was so young, I didn't experience, wasn't going out with the senior boys. I was just going home to be with my mates and be around family. And I guess that's where I probably sort of went wrong a little bit, because I was living like a normal 17, 18-year-old where I wasn't. I didn't understand what the big picture was, because I was going back to hanging out
Do you
with
reckon
school.
you missed out on your childhood?
100%.
What are you trying to say?
100% I did. And when I look back now, and we'll probably touch on it a little bit later, is that now that I've sort of done some work on myself and stuff, like, I didn't have skateboards, I didn't have bikes, I didn't go to parties and stuff like that. All I ever done was focused on footy, and that was because Dad wanted me to, and I loved it, and that's all I knew. So it was sort of like I missed out on those things, but also I was lucky enough to play.
You had some fun.
Yeah, I had some fun. Yeah.
But then you lost it all. Sorry, mate.
Were you always sort of the halfback on 5'8" sort of coming through, or was it sort of, what position were you coming
We had a
through?
really good team. So from under 7s right through to under 16s, we didn't get beat. So we had a good group of players, and we had, everyone was playing all in the junior systems. I always played 5'8", but I was a runner. And I remember the first time I turned up at the Roosters, Smithy goes, "That's why you're playing fullback." He goes,
Played fullback?
Yeah, at the Roosters, my first year. He goes, you'll be playing fullback because you're a runner, you're a natural runner. I watched you play when Jason Smith come to the Raiders after his time in the Super League. I played like a fullback, but playing 6, he was playing 7, or I wore 7, he wore 6, but he was in ball control, and I just sweeped out the back. So I always prided my game on running. I didn't really only develop as sort of a controlling half until I got to the Roosters and working with Pearcey and having a good relationship with him. Like, I've done heaps of stuff with you, Andrew, and Matty along the way. Matty used to come down to Canberra and sort of work on the skip and get it on the outside of A and B. That's always like controlled around, but yeah, always in the halves.
What happened when it all got taken away?
Footy.
The footy got taken away and you ended up playing up north. Didn't
Yeah,
you?
so...
That was before I spoke to you.
Yeah, so in 2000... At the end of 2008, when I got sacked from Canberra, I'd signed to go to the Super League with Nathan Brown to Huddersfield Giants. The week before I left, I got a phone call. My bags were packed and Richard Thulis from the Huddersfield Giants called me and goes, "Your visa's been declined. It'll probably take a couple of months to appeal it. We'll get it all sorted." And then I woke up that next morning and I said to Mum, "I'm not going to go. Like, it's just not meant to be." And sort of when I look back on it now, 3 months later, my dad passed away, and then I ended up going to Atherton and had the year off. The NRL wouldn't let me register for the whole 12 months, so I moved to Atherton, lived in a pub, worked in a pub with the Nasser family, Mick and Marie, and they're
You working in a pub? I could possibly...
It was, mate, you know what, it was like, and I was only a kid, all I knew was Goulburn and Canberra, and moving to Atherton, it was a little country town. And it was so good. Mick and Marie treated me like I was their own son. They're really, I'm still really close to them now, and I owe them so much. And I still had some growing up to do because obviously with what went on. But for that time, I enjoyed what it was like. I knew what I'd lost because I was going there to play some bush football with a group of blokes. And for me, I always just enjoyed footy. If I was getting paid or not, I just loved playing rugby league. So then knowing when I was coming back, obviously, like I said, Freddie, you were the coach. We spoke a few times about what it was going to be like when I was getting back to the Roosters and stuff. So I knew I had a goal at the back end of that 2009 season when I was coming back. But yeah, it was a big culture shock and it was a kick in the guts to obviously not be able to play what I was set out to do.
Now, obviously, you've had some dramas over the years, Toddy. You're 18 months sober now?
So yeah.
If you didn't have those dramas, would you be sober now?
No. No, probably not.
Well, how tough was it, those incidents, which we don't want to bring them up, but, you know, from afar, people look and just sort of giggle and go, "Oh, it's Toddy being Toddy." But
yeah.
For you personally, how much of a toll did it take?
It took a toll, I guess, it took a toll on me. But I guess when it took a toll, I always had a club coming to me, chasing me, where if I look back on it now, if I say to anyone that gets in trouble, take some time to invest into yourself and realise why you're doing the things you're doing, because an NRL club will come straight away. So
what did you learn from when you looked at yourself?
Well, I didn't learn anything because the next day after I got sacked anywhere, I had a new contract on the table and I was just preparing to go elsewhere. It was more when I finished footy and then I met my partner. We had my son, and then she pretty much said to me one day, "I can't be around you when you drink." Like, so we split up for a bit, and that was a big wake-up call for me. Like,
oh, that was rock bottom?
Yeah, that was rock bottom. My values growing up, I wanted to be like my dad. I wanted to be a family man. I wanted to my son, for me to be the best footballer as possible and treat him like my dad treated me. And I couldn't do that because I didn't have the opportunity to be around him all the time because we had split. And then I woke up one morning after being out in the night and I just couldn't physically get myself ready to go out for the day to go to work.
Because you were sick or because mentally?
Just mentally that I'd had enough. So I rang Susie, she was Max at the time, and I said, I'm going to go to rehab, I need help for it. And I've thought about it at times before, but I never had felt that feeling. Something come over me and I just knew that I needed some kind of professional help. And when I was playing, I thought about it, people told me to go do it, but it was like, I don't need, like, I'm a rugby league player, I don't need to go to rehab. Imagine what it would be like in rehab for a rugby league player. And even when I walked in the doors for the rehab, I was nervous I was scared and nervous. And I sat down in a room with a guy, because when I first got in there, you have sort of 5-day period of sort of getting used to the place. And the guy that I was sitting with, he goes, "I know who you are." And he goes, "No one in here cares who you are. We're all fighting the same issues." He goes, "So get in here, enjoy it, dive into what you need to do, and get out of what you're here for to get the help. And it changed my life. Like, I can honestly say, like, if I could turn back and say I wish I'd done it at the start, but I wasn't ready to.
It doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen like that. But
This is all post-footy. This is all after your career finished.
after it's finished, yeah. So 18 and a half months ago, I checked into rehab in Gympie. And nothing bad was happening. That's the thing. If someone was like, "Oh, you must have done something wrong for this to happen." The only thing.
Meantime, you're still playing though, aren't you?
Yeah, I
You're
was still playing.
up
I was working at a school with disengaged youth. The big thing, the shock with me was that I'd split up my partner. I'd lost my son. I was a 50-50 dad, I called myself. So when I had him, I was the best dad in the world. When I didn't have him, my life was just up and down. And I couldn't continue to go on like that. So it was either make a choice to get sober and clean myself up, or just go down a slippery path. And in the end, if I look on it now, fast forward, I would have lost everything.
Well, Toddy, thanks for coming on, being so open, taking so much out of that, and I think people at home have taken so much out of it. And, if you are struggling, ask for help.
This year, NRL on 9 is your one-stop shop for all footy.
That's right, Freddie. Not about the highlights, action, 7 days a week.
Billy and Gus podcast, get that on your drive on the way home. Immortal Behaviour, grab a seat on the couch for that. And of course, my favourite, Freddie and the Owner.
The best footy brains, the biggest games.
Don't trust the algorithm, subscribe to NRL on 9 and get all your entertainment there.